Hey, what's up, Instagram? How we doing? It's Greg here at Fisheries headquarters, jumping on. It's my lovely wife, Melanie. Just figured we'd stop in, say hello, check in with you guys. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions tonight. If you do, shoot them at me. I'd love to see what I can answer for you guys, help you guys out in any way. If I don't have the question, hopefully I can try to find it for you. So basically, I wanted to jump in, let you guys know I posted a blog. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but Fishing LBI is a Fishery Report blog that we've had at the shop for quite a while. Started writing it years and years ago and kind of just ran with it. The Fishery Report, if you guys are interested, is based around the Long Beach Island area. It is fishinglbi.com. I'm basically the main contributor, author, editor, whatever you want to call it. There's also other authors that jump on as well. Some of the local captains, such as Steve Perel at The Real Fantasy, Brett Taylor, Real Reaction Sport Fishing, Captain Alex, he has Lighthouse Sport Fishing, David DeGennaro on the High Flyer. These are all some local captains. I'm sure I'm missing a couple others. I guess there's Captain Schmidt on the Old Barney Charters. Myself, Captain Greg Kudnick on Fishhead Charters and also at Fisherman's Headquarters. There's other authors there too, but if you guys want to check out a Fishery Report sometime based around the Long Beach Island area, central New Jersey, we talk about surf fishing, talk about the Back Bay, Barnegat Bay, Barnegat Inlet, inshore waters, offshore waters, depending on whatever's trending at the time, try to post some news there. So the only reason I mention it is maybe there's some information you guys could find there. It would help you in terms of going fishing, whether it's now or, next month, next season, next year, whatever. To me, it's even valuable to even look back at past years. So for me, to figure out what I'm doing this year, sometimes I look back. I actually have a app, I believe it's called Time Hop or something like that. I could look up and find it. If somebody really needs to know, they can message me. But it's something I use for when I plan to go fishing. I look back to see what I did a year ago. Like, let's say if I'm planning to go tomorrow, or if a customer calls me up, a potential charter, and says, hey, I'm looking to fish next week or two weeks from now or next June or whatever it is. Sometimes I'll look back at that app and I'll say, what did I do last June 5th or last June 1st or whatever, May, for whatever the example may be. Pick that date and see what I did. It helps me out planning purposes and stuff like that. So if I can help you in any way, maybe that's something that suggestion can help you guys. In terms of planning out based on last year, seeing what happened last year, and maybe say, hey, this is what I did last year. I caught a bunch of fish doing this technique, or this is the location I was fishing. Maybe you could recreate that this year. So just to get a little deeper into this blog thing, I posted a blog yesterday. It was the April, I guess it was 6th update on fishinglbi.com. And sometime today, I guess it was around midday, noon, 1:30, something like that, an email came in amongst many, many other emails. It seems like that's all I do all day is answer emails, which is cool. Like to interact with customers, questions, concerns, problems, good reviews, bad reviews, stuff like that. So one of these things I got today was an email, and it kind of bummed me out right when I saw it because I try to keep everything up to date on the blog. There's some places where you can find a Fishery Report that's weeks and months old, and it's what good is it? Most of the time a Fishery Report is posted the time of it's accurate, and then the next day it's a day old. Or sometimes you're reporting information that might be a day or two before that actual published date. So sometimes the blog comes out and it might be a day, 2, 3 days old, and to me it's very valuable to keep it up to date, and it's why I like to try to post at least a blog a week. Sometimes I'll do them daily when the fishing's hot, when there's information to share. Sometimes the information just isn't there to gather, to share. Sometimes it's the time that's not available to me. So just first and foremost, I try my best to keep that as up to date as possible. If you guys are looking for fishing information, please check it out, fishinglbi.com. So this email that came in today was from a guy by the name of John. And after reading our blog post, or my blog post that I wrote, he said, the beaches are closed. You had no bunker this morning, and the tide chart was wrong. 58 miles one way for nada. So I saw this message. I was super bummed out. I was like, man, if I just drove 60 miles to come to LBI and the beaches were closed, and I wasn't expecting it, I'd be pretty bummed out. The bunker situation for sure, if you want to chunk some bunker. and you're heading down to a shop and they don't have bait or bunker in that situation, definitely pretty bummed out. And tide chart was wrong. I mean, if you're planning your day around the tide, I mean, that's another bummer. So I kind of saw these 3 strikes, and I said, man, we can't strike out. I got to get back to John and let him know. I got to see what he was thinking, let him know what I was thinking, see where the disconnect was. And I find out that his comment was actually to a blog post that I tagged as sticky to keep it up at the top of the blog thread. So if you go to the blog page now, fishinglba.com, you'll see there's a sticky thing that was posted. I want to say it was like, 18th of March. So it's half a month old. And it was originally when this whole pandemic was coming down. It was like kind of a shop update. Hey, this is what we're doing. We're staying safe. We're doing our sanitizing procedures on a daily basis. We're on the skeleton crew at the shop. There's not near as many staff as we normally have. And, we're kind of doing these things with limited access to the shop and curbside pickups, no public access, keeping up to speed and up to date with our web orders, phone orders, stuff like that, mail orders, which we've been doing for a long, long time. So that being said, I looked in, I said, wow, this comment was on a blog post that was weeks old, but maybe he didn't see the date because it was sticky and it was, up at the top. So I was kind of like, maybe this was my bad. Maybe I should, the blog's weeks old, maybe I should unsticky that one. But I kind of wanted to keep it up top to let people know what was going on at the shop in terms of, what we were doing. Keep people up to date on that side of the story. So basically, I wrote a really detailed response, and I posted it at the bottom of the blog. I commented to his, but since that went to a separate post from the 18th, it was kind of confusing. I said, let me throw this post onto the most recent update, just so people can see it, and they know if they send a question that I'm actually answering them. Sometimes they're private emails, but I thought since I spent so much time typing it out, I should send it, and publish it in a public fashion. And basically, there's 3 things that I kind of touched on, and that was the bait situation, the beach closer situation, and also the tide chart situation. So one of the things that kind of occurred here is the beaches have been closing down all across the nation, the state, and in our local area here on Long Beach Island. So just for an update, and this is as of now, Ship Bottom, the beaches of Ship Bottom are closed, and that's the town, the entrance to LBI where we're located. But there are some beaches on Long Beach Island that are open. As of yesterday, the Lighthouse State Park was open. I just heard this evening that some guys were fishing up there today. This is after Governor Murphy's update, and they were asked to leave. So I don't know exactly where that leaves everything. I know the parks were open. Barley State Park, I guess, now is closed. It's up for debate if it's the park, if you can still fish the outer part of the beaches, more, we'll call it the town beaches of Barnegat Light. It's sort of gray area. So I really don't want to be the source or the authorizing voice to say yes or no. That's not my place. I suggest if anyone wants to go fishing, to find areas that are open, that they're allowed to fish, practice social distancing, be safe, be healthy, go catch fish. So first and foremost, I definitely apologize to John about the beach closures, stuff that's out of my control. And, it was just kind of an unfortunate thing that just kind of came about that just recently here. Long Beach Township is closed, and so is Ship Bottom. If you have a local disaster reentry pass that they started issuing after Sandy, you can access some of the beaches in the township, but there's certain beaches that aren't so much. But that being said, let me go to this next step, which is, if you want to read this thing, was about the bait situation. So on the side of our blog, we have called a bait board. When we do updates, sometimes it's not even the fish reports updated. I'll try to update the bait situation on a regular basis. We'll say the date, time. It says call to confirm availability. So we had bunker at opening today, fresh bunker, and we sold out within the first, say, half hour. We haven't been getting that much because it's kind of early season. Still kind of this pandemic going on. It's like, hey, we don't want to load up coolers full of bunker and have it all go sour. So we've been getting little shots here and there. So that was a bummer that the bait board was updated, but not updated again as timely as I guess John would have liked. So I apologize for that. And that's something that, I wish I could have updated every half hour, but there's just so many other things going on at the shop. It can't be instantaneous. That being said, if you guys ever do look at the bait board and you see that, hey, this bait was updated an hour ago, it's a good chance we probably have it. But please take this suggestion, take this, memory and figure out that, hey, if you're going to drive a good distance, it's best to call to confirm availability, just like the disclaimer says in the site. Give us a call, say, hey guys, you got bait. It's a common phone call we get all day, every day. It's no sweat. Give us a shout. What kind of bait you guys got? If you want to ask other questions, we're here. Give us a shout. So the third and really the most important part of this whole thing was John's reference to the tide chart being wrong. So I personally use an app called Tidegraph Pro on my phone. And we also have that powering the widget that is on our Fisheries Report page. And for anybody that knows tide graphs or tide apps, Tidegraph Pro is probably the best. I'm going to say it's arguably the best because there's lots of apps. Everybody has their own favorite. But Tidegraph Pro is my favorite by far. I just like the simplicity of it. It's very, very easy, and it's nice and visually laid out. It's easy to swipe through dates. It's easy to save some of your favorite locations. Gives you the sunrise, sunsets, shows you in a graphical representation the major tides, the minor tides, and it gives you just a lot more details, in my opinion, than what you would see on a paper chart with just times. So to me, Tidegraph Pro is the best. That being said, John didn't think so. So I wanted to reply to him and let him know that I think that he might have had some confusion, because tide apps and tide charts are forecasts or predictions that are made way ahead of time. And they are based around the Earth's proximity to the moon. So the moon's gravity, we'll get a little scientific here. The moon's pull, or how close or how far it is from the Earth, is what pulls the water on Earth and rises and lowers the tide. Now, tide is the vertical movement of water. Now, current is the horizontal movement of water. Two very drastically different things. Sometimes they can be confused. Anybody who needs to know about or learn about tides and currents should definitely Google around, try to find some information, read up on some white paper. There's definitely some information out there. Noah, I believe, has some stuff. Just watch who you read from, but there's definitely a lot of good information about it. I would strongly suggest learning the difference between tides and currents, and learning the reason why current, in my opinion, is more important than tide. It's something that I go back to all the time when customers ask. They call and they always ask, what time is high tide? It's one of the most common phone calls we get, one of the most common requests. But one thing that we never hear is, what time is low tide? Wonder why. So there's something to it where a lot of people base their fishing trips around high tide. Why is it? I'm not sure. Based around my fishing experiences, I cannot confirm and say all of my fish or my best fishing is at high tide. I could look and actually say I probably catch more fish at low tide in certain areas than I do at high tide. And it's pretty easy to say why. If you know there's fish hanging in an area and there's a body of water, a body of fish, or there's structure, or there's some sort of feature or area that is attracting the fish, in a lower tide, there's less water. So you basically have a barrel of fish and less water. There's less area for the fish to be. So to me, I can say I've caught more fish at low tide than I have high, and I believe that's the reason why. I don't want to preach that you should only fish low tide, because that's hogwash. But what I think you really should do, in my opinion, is you should learn how fish react in different tides and react in different currents, in different positions, in different spots. And what I feel is that fish are going to be very, very, here we got a little fish book for baby Zachary. So fish are going to have a very a very demanding way of life where they're always swimming, and their face is normally going to be in the current. If the current's coming strong, they're not going to swim backwards into it. So that being said, when you present lures, you kind of have to think of it as a river or a flowing current, and how the fish are going to be staged at a particular spot or particular piece of structure, and kind of use that to your advantage. Kind of look in a little bit deeper. But to go in a little further here into John's comment, kind of got off topic there, off track, maybe not off topic, rambling. But I tried to explain to John that there's a difference between current and tide. And what I feel he witnessed this morning, was the high tide was early in the morning. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I think it was, I don't know, in the 7 o'clock range, close to, early morning. And if you're familiar with what's going on right now, is we've had this supermoon, which is a trendy name, I believe it's a pedigree moon, when the moon is much, much closer. Obviously, it's full. So full and new moons have much, much more pull on the water, which gives more extreme tides. And what you'll see is that on the full moon and the new moon with those extreme tides, you'll have more flow or more current. That being said, the tide today in the morning was high, and it was extremely high. If you looked at the Tide Graph Pro app, you would see it was forecast on the Tide app, on the Tide forecast chart at like +5 and change, which is pretty high. Around the country here, United States, in most common areas, it's between 1 and 6 feet. And today it was 5 point something, so it was on that upper range. One of the biggest tides of 2020, like I said, is the super moon, which is a trendy name. But that's the reason why, because of the moon, you got these extreme tides. The lows were not extremely low, but the highs were extremely high. And we would have seen a big flooding event if we had a little bit of a storm, some easterly wind like we had over the weekend. If that kind of came a couple days later, we would have definitely probably seen a lot more flooding and such like that. But what I think happened with John is I believe he went fishing in the morning or went to go scout a spot. And I think he saw a very high tide. Possibly he saw water still flowing in an hour and a half after the tide graph or the tide representation that we had on our blog said was high. So he said, it's 8 o'clock now, or let's just picking numbers out of thin air. It's an hour and a half after the tide chart said it's high, but it's still coming in. The tide is wrong. The chart's wrong. It's all hogwash. And in fact, it's not. And what I believe John missed, and what I'm trying to explain here, and I think is very, very important to fishermen and fisherwomen, so anglers, is that the current always lags the tide. So if the tide, let's just take, for example, 7 o'clock is high in the morning, the tide's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up. Well, 7 o'clock is the top of the tide, but the current will still continue. Some spots a half hour, hour and a half. Sometimes it could be even 2 hours, 3 hours, if there's wind as well. And that current will then slack and turn depending on number of conditions, but it's always going to be after that high tide or low tide, for example. And you'll get these terminologies in terms of tides like the ebb, which is the outgoing current, or the flood, the incoming current. You may have heard those. But what I wrote here was pretty detailed. If you want to check out fishinglbi.com. You'll see towards the bottom of the report, I posted a little piece about John's question or John's comment, which I took as a question. And then my couple paragraphs, I broke down his one sentence into 3 paragraphs, answering kind of each of those 3 specific things. And you'll see a couple points that I just kind of touched on now outlined there. So I also first and foremost apologize to John for the mix-ups. I felt really, really bad. They drove 60 miles and was kind of welcomed to LBI with kind of 3 strikes in a row, which was a pretty much major bummer. So now that I kind of laid that out there, that was kind of what I wanted to talk about. I will kind of scroll through some of these comments. I see a bunch of stuff was flying up here, and kind of see if anybody has some questions for me. Hopefully it's something about tide, or maybe it's something about fishing. Maybe it's some ball busting or whatnot. I see we have definitely some questions about or comments about the beaches and such. Yeah, look, Nick DeGennaro, nice sweatshirt. Saltwater, that's his company. I gave a shout out to his dad just a minute ago there. High Flyer Sport Fishing, Captain David DeGennaro. When this all passes by, you guys should reach out to him if you want to get out. He runs a World Cat out of the Barnegat Light area. Does a lot of miscellaneous saltwater fishing from striped bass to inshore, bay, ocean, what have you name it. During the season, he's on it. So yeah, I'll just go back to the beginning. I'm kind of up there already. I see a bunch of waves. Thanks guys for jumping on. Hopefully my rambling didn't scare you off too much, but hopefully I provided a little bit of information and content. So Capel says, can we still fish with all new fishing regulations or new restrictions? So yes, you can fish. Exactly where you can fish is the sticky, kind of confusing part of this whole thing. I would strongly suggest staying as local as possible, adhering to the requests from the state governments, local governments about social distancing. Got to stay healthy, got to stay safe, protect yourself, protect others. But you definitely got to go out and get a little fresh air here and there. So if you guys want to go out and fish, definitely look into it a little bit. Just don't go rambling, wandering, anywhere you please. But there are areas to fish. If you need some assistance, give a call to the shop, kind of point you in the right direction. Most parks throughout the state are closed. Just yesterday they were open. Now it seems like they're all locking up. There are some towns on Long Beach Island. I don't want to mention specific ones and kind of spot burn, have everybody go to a certain street or certain area, and then have kind of the whole issue, blow up even bigger than it is, which everything's locked down. So you kind of got to do your research, use your head. But I would strongly suggest if you want to go fishing, the easiest thing to do is get on a boat. I'm not saying call a charter boat captain because charter boat captain shouldn't be fishing. I'm saying find a boat. If you don't have a boat, all the more better. Find a place who's renting boats. These bait and tackle rental shops have been struggling for years and years ago. Winter Flounder open up, these guys would be sold out of boats day one. Fluke would open, they'd be sold out of boats. I can tell you right now, if you go talk to rental boat companies, business is terrible. They need your help. Go rent a boat. If you're hey, you're a hardcore surf fisherman, you can't fish the surf right now, go rent a boat, hop in the bay. There's tons of striped bass in the Barnegat Bay. They're not big, they're small, tons of fun. There's winter flounder, great time. The weather's been good. Rent a boat. It's a couple bucks. You're not mortgaging, the whole life over the situation. Just hop in a boat, go fishing, go for a boat ride, enjoy the day. Going down here, looks like Jared says kicked off the jetty tonight with Swag Rangers. They were putting up fences. Oh, by the Rangers. Okay, Rangers. They were putting up fences to block up the park around 7:30. So there's some live action information, very, very recent. Jared was on the jetty catching fish recently the last couple of days, catching a lot of tog on the jetty. April's normally a great time for it, so it made sense when the reports started coming. I was stoked to hear them all. I have not been up there. I was going to go up there tonight, check out the scene, see what the gate was like. So I'm happy that Jared reached out. I really appreciate that information. He said the parking lot was blocked off around 7:30. My question would be to Jared and also others. The parking lot's been blocked off or the gate's been closed for some time now, but access was still available to people walking in. Bird watchers, photographers, and anglers were allowed to go foot traffic in. The facilities were closed, the parking lot was closed, but to the best of my knowledge, the street end is still accessible. So the end of the boulevard, the street end, the bulkhead, I believe you could still fish there throughout the whole dock on that, we'll call it the end of the boulevard. To the best of my knowledge, that's a spot to fish. I'm not saying everybody should go there and fish elbow to elbow. If you go there and there's a lot of people fishing, keep your distance. Let's be respectful here so everybody can catch fish. If you're the last guy showing up, you're bad, you're late, you missed the party, maybe you should go find another spot to fish, roam around a little bit, try to find a nook and cranny on the bay side. I think the surf's going to be somewhat very, very condensed in terms of where you can get in, where you can get out. Adam Shearer mentions best place to catch schoolies on the flats. I think you're going to have to ask yourself on that question. I have not been out there yet. However, better than anybody. That's definitely a ball-busting question, number one. To help somebody who wasn't really in this for the busting of the chops and really wanted some information, and you are going to rent a boat and go out there and try to catch some striped bass in the bay, I would strongly suggest looking around the grass flats in Barnegat Bay. That's one. Two, would be looking at the sod banks, and 3 would be looking at channel bifurcations where the channels come together and split apart. So Oyster Creek is a main thoroughfare that leads from the inlet to the main Barnegat Bay. Double Creek is also a main thoroughfare. Those 2 channels come together at the tip of the dike. There's lots of area to fish there. Where those channels meet the main bay is also another great spot to fish. I would check out those areas, and it's not a little nook and a little cranny. There's lots of open area there to fish and to venture around and explore and scout. Now's the time to go. You should have great fishing there for the next month, maybe even more. For sure, the bay will have fish for a while. As Max said, yeah, almost positive we had bunker. We did have bunker. John just wasn't so happy that we didn't have bunker when he was there. Anybody looking for a charter and wants to go, Adam Shear does Waterman charters when the time's right. Reach out to him. I believe the boat is up in Raritan Bay right now catching a lot of big fish. However, they are not running charters due to the situation. Cruising down here, we got a little more information from Jared. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Just following up on these messages. You can still park out right out front, but they blocked the ways to get in. You have to go up the side street. We'll keep that quiet for now. I know a couple guys got kicked off the jetty around sunset. I believe a park ranger was driving on the beach, doing his laps up and down and all around. It was kind of doing the old bullhorn thing. Hey, guys, get lost. So just a little bit of intel that I heard, which is kind of through the grapevine. So, yeah, it looks like Schwag's got a little report here. Blackfish last couple days. Maybe he'd be happy enough to join us here and share his report. It sounds like one of his buddies on the boat had a 14-pounder yesterday. I heard Rosetta Stone was out there today. Not a common name you hear in the tog fishing grounds, but stoked to hear he got out there and got his tog jig action on. So let's keep cruising through here. Salted clam doesn't work. Come on, man. I gotta disagree with that. I'm not gonna say it's the best, but salted. I caught a lot of striped bass on salted clam, as well as sea bass and tog. Salted's better than nothing. I'd say it's better than frozen. I mean, frozen's just kind of mushy. There we go. Schwag says got a couple unsalted yesterday. Curious. That's probably where your cod came from. Is that right? I don't think you caught a cod on crab. I mean, I guess maybe it's possible. I know Schwag and crew had a cod yesterday, so that's kind of cool. Tell them the difference between tide and current again. So hopefully I spelled that out. If I did not spell that out fully and you guys want to learn a little more information about it, if I get enough messages about it, maybe I'll do a tide and current 101 talk. And maybe I could even do it when the coronavirus is free and clear, and we can actually get out and maybe we can. I mean, I've taken customers to up to the beach before to kind of help them out with how to scout a spot, how to look and how to read the water, how to find a sandbar, how to find a trough, how to find a cut, how to find productive water to fish, and kind of certain spots that I would somewhat not spend so much time or not focus on. So something like that is something I'm very familiar with helping customers. Very happy to help customers. You know, I help them buying tackle, getting set up, but I also want to help them figuring a spot out to go fish. And since spots change and fish swim, you know, your hot spot today is not your hot spot, you know, next week or next month. Things can change. So picking a spot, reading water is very important. But to me also something very important would be the fact of reading the currents, reading the tides, and knowing ahead of time how to look at a tide chart and say, okay, what's the current going to be? When do I actually want to fish here based on the water flow? And the water velocity, because most of the time a full current, fish kind of hunker down and don't move too much. They get lazy. Yes, you will catch fish sometimes in a full current, but you won't catch bigger fish. A lot of times you'll catch them in the more slower slack tides. And the slack tide, just a little tip, is not high tide and is not low tide. The tide is the vertical movement of water, like I mentioned before. The slack reference is the stoppage or the flip of the current movement from ebb to flood or flood to ebb. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I'll kind of give up on all that stuff now. And yeah, my wife, Cassie Picks, mentions Bill Nye. I don't think I'm the science guy, but I guess I know enough to be dangerous about tides. So Swag wants the mustache. I mean, I was going to try to just grow out this kind of whiskery, scraggly thing. See how long this pandemic goes on for and keep it rolling. So we'll see about that. Maybe might have to do a little handlebar thing just for you, Swag. Every time Greg says hogwash, you have to drink. So all I got's water here, but I don't know where you guys are up to yet. But I'm not getting many questions here. So if you guys want to throw something my way, throw it at me. If not, I guess I'll kick out of here. Max is mentioning Rhodan. Yeah, I'd have to say if you guys want to talk about Rhodans, I like talking about Rhodans. Rhodan is the GPS anchor, aka trolling motor, made for saltwater fishermen. It is available in a number of powers, a number of shaft lengths. They're the real deal. They're made in Florida, built specifically for saltwater anglers. They were designed, manufactured, and still now marketed to saltwater anglers. There's no freshwater in any stretch of the imagination of a Rhodan trolling motor. They're made for saltwater, dual GPSs, Line-X coated lower units. They stand up to saltwater. They do not corrode like other ones out there. They also have a sealed board, and that is very important to keep the motherboards from frying, which is a common issue with some other ones out there. They also don't make an automatic deploy, which is also a common issue with some other ones out there. I think you just build a better mousetrap. I think if you want to integrate with your electronics, such as Humminbird, then you got to go with a Coda. I get it. That integration is powerful. If you've got the Humminbird electronics, it makes sense. If you don't have Humminbird electronics, get a Rhodan. Take the tip from me. Thank you. Any sightings in LI? I know the fish hit Jersey much earlier. So I don't know much about Long Island. We are located in central New Jersey, South Central. We're in Ocean County, Long Beach Island. We are north of Atlantic City. We are south of Island Beach State Park. Barnegat Inlet and Barnegat Lighthouse is located on Long Beach Island. That's where we are. I don't know much about Long Island. I would assume Western Long Island probably has fish right now. Maybe there's somebody on here watching that knows about Long Island. Reach out. Maybe you could let James, not sure how that name is pronounced or spelled there, but reach out to James. Maybe give him a heads up. Say, hey, there's some fish around. I'm sure there's definitely some areas to fish. Scout 187, are boat ramps open? Yes, sir. All boat ramps that I've seen are open. I see, or I've heard of no information in regards to potential closure of boat ramps. I launched my boat on Sunday, went for a spin around, little sea trial, gave it a shakedown. Still got a couple things I got to do, some zincs, little bottom paint, but I just wanted to get a couple things, oil change and whatnot, fuel filters, stuff like that. Wanted to run some of my old fuel to see how it was, see if I got phase separation over the winter. Everything was good. So I like to do that with my old filters, and I just switched out my filters when I got back. Was stoked to see that the gasoline that I poured out was clean. So I was happy that I think I'm ready for the season. I just got to do a couple finishing touches, and I'll have my boat in here pretty soon. So to answer your question, Scout 187, boat ramps are open as I know of today. I know Surf City was open. I know Ship Bottom was open. I know Barnegat Light was open. There are some other ramps in the LBI. I'd say those are the three primary. Maybe Beach Haven would be one other primary ramp. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would be willing to guess that it is open. If you want the information on that day, if you're not close by, you're saying, hey, I'm coming to LBI, I'm going to put my boat in the water, and you want to use the Ship Bottom ramp, feel free to reach out to us. It's right down the street from the shop. I've got no problem going out of my way, checking the ramp for you and giving you a live update and say, hey, man, here's a picture, ramp's open, come use it. Minutes after that update, I can't promise anything doesn't change with the town and what goes on around here. So that's just what I can do for you. I'll try to help you out the best I can. Swagmattic says slack ties are always better. Not from South Jersey, just wondering where me and my buddies could go surf fishing during the nighttime. So That's Ebras 12. I would say nighttime fishing is possibly off limits. If you want to go fish, go fish. You're on your own. There is a curfew. The curfew's been in effect for a while. I don't want to go out there and say you should break curfew because you shouldn't, but I had a feeling if you would walked up to any of the beaches and were kind of quick, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I don't think anybody's going to bother you. There's 18 miles of beach in LBI, and I don't know how many police are out there all the time, but there's no way that all the police can look at every single street on LBI and find you. Unless somebody's going to rat you out for making a bunch of noise in the street, clunking your stuff together, gearing up, gearing down, making a bunch of noise. I would think if you just did the old, incognito night shift session, you'll probably be fine. The issue is I don't think the surf is productive enough right now to warrant you risking that and also wasting your time. I'd be fishing on the bay side. In my opinion, that's where I'd be looking. And with that said, there's not many bayside spots. So I don't know how far you want to stick your head out there, potentially get a ticket. I don't know if they're issuing tickets yet, so don't take my suggestion, but it's just a thought that you may not want to. But if you do, have at it. You can always use the ignorance excuse, but it might not work. Any bluefish being caught? Still, James, I got no bluefish reports. Now that the inlet is going to be somewhat off limits, that's where you see the first sign of bluefish. Some of you will see some of the laughing gulls in the bay roaming around, which is a telltale sign something's about to break open. Normally you see them in the inlet first. The guys that are togging will kind of see some fish moving through. Next thing you know, those guys start throwing some metal or some plugs, and then all of a sudden, hey, there's some reports going around and there's some fish here. I have not heard any reports about bluefish, and I don't expect to hear many because there's going to be less anglers fishing. With that said, it's going to be the boat guys that are going to be getting out roaming around. Hopefully we'll start sharing some information. Hopefully I'll have my boat in soon. I'll be able to share some info if I stumble across them and find a couple yellow eyes. So I'll be sure to reach out to you first because you're always asking. All right. So there's my buddy Eddie out in California, Southern California love. Good to see you, Eddie. Thanks for jumping on here. Hopefully you're staying safe out there. Here the surfing out there is on lockdown, so I'm feeling for you, bro. I thought it was just you guys, and somehow it trekked over this way, and now I just hear the surfing's getting cut out of our game. So Ebros is looking more towards summertime. So if you're looking to fish the summertime, reach out to us when the time's right. And I don't know if you're looking to go look for kingfish, if you're doing the fluke thing, maybe looking for some bigger summertime creatures like the rays or toothy critters that come about. There's definitely a lot of beaches to fish. With 18 miles of beach on LBI, there's definitely a large amount of area to get out and target. With that being said, some people get lost and kind of overwhelmed in the sheer length of just open beaches. Years prior, there were jetties, and they helped out guys because you could fish a jetty, nothing's happened, you go to the next jetty, and people just kind of fished structure to structure, jetty to jetty. Nowadays, a lot of that's covered up. There are some jetties on the south end, a couple little rocks here and there showing in at times. But you really got to go back to what I was saying before about reading the beach. You got to read the structure. I would definitely suggest if you're fishing nighttime, show up before sunset if you can. Scout out a couple spots. When I say a couple, you look at one and you say, oh, this looks great, and you fish it, and you waste an hour, nothing's going on. What do? You spend another hour there and hope for the best? I don't fall into that kind of category. I like to figure out a couple spots that I want to target. If one's not working, I give it a little bit, move on, check out the other spot. You can always come back, but it's very, very difficult in my eyes to stake out a spot and fish one spot the whole session when it's not productive for the first, say, half hour. I just feel like I'm wasting my time. Fish swim. Yes, they hunker down in certain areas too, but fish swim. And I feel that if you can move around a little bit, sometimes you'll find them where they are at that time. And you can follow them either up current, down current, as they move with the tide into different zones, different areas, different rips, different cuts, different piles of water, different bowls, sloughs, and whatnot. So hopefully that helped you out. But Ebras 12, reach out to the times right. Read the Fish Report blog. We'll mention the general classifications of North End, Mid Island, and South End. And most of the time, just so you're aware, the mid-island is Harvey Cedars to, let's say, like Brant Beach-ish area, maybe a little further south, Pahila Park. South end is normally like Beach Haven Gardens, like Spray Beach, in that region all the way down to Holgate. So that's kind of that south end section. The mid-island, like I mentioned. And then you've got the north end, which is Love Ladies and Barnegat Light. That's just the terminology that we've always used. I'm not saying that's the Bible for Long Beach Island, or that's what the north, mid, and south end is, or has been. But Love Ladies is well known as the quote-unquote north end. That's what the lifeguards kind of call themselves in that town, because it's the north end of Long Beach Township. It's kind of where that name came from. So the terminology or classifications we give on our fish report in terms of north end reports are Barnegat Light and Love Ladies. Harvey Cedars, you start getting more kind of similarities to the mid-island beaches there. So we kind of classify North Beach and Harvey Cedars as being sort of mid-island. I guess you can consider some of Harvey Cedars or all of Harvey Cedars like kind of the north end section. Maybe someone that lives up there would agree or disagree. But that's just the way I look at it. So if you do see the reports, see north end, mid-island, south end, that's kind of a general idea. And we try to stay away from reporting, at least I do, specific streets or specific towns. It just helps to limit the kind of flow of people into one specific area. No one really wants to say or hear, oh, they're catching a bunch of fish at 9th Street and Ship Bottom. And then all of a sudden you go up the street from the shop and there's piles and piles of anglers all in one spot, elbow to elbow. It's not cool now with social distancing, and it was never cool before all this took place. So that being said, fish swim. Just because there's a report at spot A today doesn't mean those same fish will be at spot A tomorrow. They could be at spot B or C, or could be a mile that way or a mile that way. You never know. So you got to kind of think like a fish, scout out some spots, and I think you guys will do pretty good when you go hit the beach and start fishing when all this stuff clears through. Ebraz also mentions he's looking for private or public beaches, not sure which is which. So any street that is paved, that has a paved street and a street sign, is 99.9999 public. There'll be signs that say no parking or parking on this side or no parking beyond this sign. Read the signs. Certain days you got to be on the one side, certain days you can be on the other side. That's for trash pickup. Maybe it's snow plowing purposes in the winter. I'm not sure. Don't fool around with the signs because you will get ticketed. But if you see like a private sign or private track, stay away. You're going to find those in the towns of North Beach, and you're going to find those in the towns of Love Ladies. Those are the two northern towns of Long Beach Township. They're more of the private sections of Long Beach Island. They do not have public access on those, sometimes cobblestone, stone, private dirt tracks. You will see most of the time a sign that says private residence, private track, private access, no public access. Read the signs, abide by the signs, you'll have no problems. That being said, in the town of North Beach, there is a spot, the tennis courts, which is sort of like the middle of the area. You could park there, that is public. You could also park at the ends of each, where it starts and where it ends. So if you're talking about North Beach, 25th Street is the last northern spot in Surf City. You could park 25th, you could head up to the beach, and then you could walk north. Now I'm talking about this right now in this scenario, but I'm telling E. Bruns, I don't know what your first name is, this information for potentially using after the pandemic clears. Don't take this the wrong way. Like I'm telling you guys to go fish there now. These beaches are closed as per local ordinances. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. So also to go on, to access North Beach, you could park on Bergen Avenue. That's the southernmost street in Harvey Cedars. You can park there, you can access that, you can walk south into North Beach. Now you just came in from the middle of North Beach at the tennis court. You came in from the north at Bergen. You came in from the south at 25th. And you can basically access all of North Beach, which is private access, but the beach is public. Going on, we could move that same exact example up to the town of Love Ladies. There's a few areas there. Up in the northern 80s, the streets like 86th, I believe, is one of the last streets in Harvey Cedars. Maybe there's an 87th or 88th, I'm not positive, but there's some streets up in the northern reaches of Harvey Cedars just before the border where it meets Love Ladies. You can get in there and you can access the beach on the Harvey Cedars side and walk north into Love Ladies. There's also a public access at the church, Maris Stellis, I believe is the name of the church. Maybe it's not. That's the nunnery. Scratch that. Wrong place. There's a white church somewhere up there. You'll see there's tennis courts. There's also beach access for four-wheel. There is a parking lot there. There's definitely a white church and a big parking lot. You can park at the public lot there and access the beach. You can also go to Barnegat Light, 30th Street. You can access 30th Street and Barnegat Light and walk south and fish all through Lovelace there. So that's to help you out, eBruns 12, how to access those public areas and to fish. All the other towns, Barnegat Light, every single street's public. Surf City, every street's public. Working South, Ship Bottom, every street is public. Still coming down, Brant Beach, all of the smaller towns in the township of Long Beach Township, all are public. Cruising right on down to Beach Haven, every single street's public. You get into Holgate, just about every single street is public. Right on down to the parking lot at the end with the Wildlife Refuge, public. So if that helps you out, there's lots of public beach and parking on Long Beach Island. Don't take it and think that the yuppies in Long Beach Island shut down half the island and you can't fish there because it's private. It's not true. Definitely come down and fish LBI. There's lots of good surf fishing to be had. I can go roll through a couple of these questions and probably kick off here soon. So El Mas Busco, would you surf fish on the day of the full moon? So it's a good question. So I'm not going to say that the full moon should be the best day or the worst day, or potentially I would plan my day around the moon. I could say I can look back and remember different scenarios, different trips where the moon was full or new, and you could just tell that's very prominent that when you fish a new moon, no moon, or a full moon, nice and bright, that I've caught fish on both new moons and full moons. To me, if I had to make a judgment call, I would say full moon fishing, I've done better during the day, and new moon fishing, I've done better at night. It's just my 2 cents. One of the most important things you're going to find when you fish around those moons is you're getting more current flow, and that's due to the more extreme tides. You're going to want to fish areas that you're getting out of that current. Fish do not want to swim into the stiffest current, let's say, of the month, because those would be the times of the stiffest current of the month would be those full moon events or new moon events. When you start getting to the first quarter and last quarter, which you'd see, they're called quarters in the moon phase, but they're actually a half of moon when you actually look at the moon. Is moon circular, full is full, new is obviously nothing. It's still there, but there's nothing showing, no reflection of the sun off of it. And then you'll see a half moon, a quarter moon, which is actually half of a moon. Those are going to be the weakest tides. In my opinion, I feel that fish show up and leave during those parts of the moon phases that are more extreme. So the new and full, you have more tidal flow. I believe that's when fish arrive and fish leave. And most of the time it's based around the flushing of bait from different sections of water. So if there's an area in the bay, let's say there's a bunch of peanut bunker stacked up in an area, let's say June and July and August, there's peanut bunker kind of staging up in the lagoons in the bay. All of a sudden, September comes, it starts getting cool, the days start kind of getting shorter, things start happening, and you start getting a new moon or full moon event with a big storm. You get a big tidal flow. It starts flushing different baits out, and you start getting baits staging in different areas. I think that's really what really adds up in hindsight with these moon phases. I think you'll see bigger fish around the moons, specifically at the more slack currents. You could definitely try to focus your fishing trips around that if you want. But I definitely would say if you have the availability of fish and you know there's fish around, just because it's a full moon, don't say, oh, I'm not fishing, it's a full moon. Or just because it's a new moon, say, I'm not going fishing because it's a new moon. I would say if you know there's fish around and the weather's good and the conditions are lining up for you, go. And just take this one step further, when I say the weather's good, it's the weather's good for fishing, not the weather's good to go get a suntan or the weather's good to go for a walk. It's fishing weather can sometimes not be the best for, let's say, the everyday person. So take that, into account as well. So Brian asked about winter flounder pointers. I would say the best pointer I give for winter flounder is don't be afraid to chum. Another thing is hook up a plunger to a long piece of PVC pipe and kind of plunge that around and kind of stir up that mud. And you can sometimes kind of get some fish active off the get-go. I feel this year the winter flounder reports were very, very early. They were strong early, and they kind of faded off quick. I think there's still some winter flounder around. I don't think they're gone. But I don't think you're going to have a very productive, let's say, April of winter flounder fishing. The main reason why I say that is because winter flounder love bloodworms. They love lots of chum. And the two of those things striped bass also like. So if you're sending out, let's say, some live worm, small hooked rigs, and you've got a chum basket or two with some clam chum, mussel chum, we'll call it flounder mix, you are going to attract the striped bass that are in the area as well. And that's the number one complaint I've heard from anglers that are going winter flounder fishing is that there's so many striped bass around, they're just blowing through worms. So it's a little bit difficult to try to balance that out. So if you want to go. But I'd have to say that you're probably going to have a better chance catching striped bass than you will winter flounder. But don't let that stop you from going. If you go out, you give it hell, hopefully you catch them. Please let us know. Send us a picture, tag us, let us know how you did. So we got some other talk about here. Brian definitely want to anchor up for sure. Winter flounder, I don't think I've ever caught him drifting like you would fluke. Summer flounder. Definitely anchor up. Try to find a channel edge. Sometimes they're in the flat, on the mud flat, but most of the time it's on the edge of a hole. There's some different holes and bowls that I've fished over the years. Right in the bay and Ship Bottom by the bridges, the Causeway Bridges to LBI. There's a sluway behind Harvey Cedars. There's a sluway behind Brant Beach. There's some good holes you'll find along the Intercoastal Waterway. They were all made once upon a time when developers were building up the west side of LBI. They were digging out the bay, putting that material on the land and bulkheading it in to kind of fill in some, we'll say, making almost properties or enlarging some of the footprint of the island. Those holes they dug out kind of are some good fishing spots, some good holes. I could say I've caught over the years winter flounder in them and also weak fish. So if you see those holes, check out a nautical chart. We sell them at the shop if you want one. They're not expensive. Also, you could look up Navionics on your phone. Very, very valuable app that I use very frequently. Strongly suggest it. You can find those holes. You can find those bowls, the sluways, the main channels, the secondary channels, different thoroughfares that bring water and bring different flow through the bay. You could use that to your advantage. Go scout around, and I think the more you learn the bay, the more fish you're going to catch, the more fun you're going to have. I'm stoked to hear El Mas says there's schoolies in town where he is on the lawn. That's awesome. Jester123, thank you for doing this. Very informative. I'm stoked to hear that. Thank you. Definitely puts a smile on my face. I know I could sleep good tonight knowing that I helped at least somebody. I also appreciate Swagmattic, Fishhead's ambassador. Also, Main Man Max for jumping on here and answering some of these questions. Sometimes when I'm rambling, I'm talking, my mind's kind of churning. I sometimes miss questions. I might ramble about a specific topic and go over my time and yada, yada, yada. So thank you guys for jumping on there. I'll kind of scroll here a little bit more. Jester123 again says, thank you for doing this. New to saltwater fishing, very informative. Once again, very, very happy that this was informative to you. If you got any questions, feel free to give us a call, send us a message. I'd love to share some information with you. If you want, keep following us. I'll try to do as many of these posts as I can. We try to post stories all the time. We try to do a feature post every day or two. We try not to jam up everybody's feeds too much. Hopefully you guys like the content we're sharing. If you do, thank you. One of the people that does it is Max, as mentioned. He's awesome. Another one's me. I'm Greg. And another one's Willie. I should reach out to him because it's his birthday. He's got 45 minutes left of his birthday. Happy birthday, Willie. Stoked to hear you went fishing on your birthday. Stoked to see you caught a bunch of fish on your birthday. It's awesome. I can't wait for my birthday, May 21st, to catch a bunch of fish. Something special about going fishing on your birthday, enjoying the outdoors, catching fish, doing what you love, sending them on their way to kind of swim another day. So shout out to Willie. Happy birthday. Nice work on catching the fish today with the boys. It looked like you guys were social distancing as much as possible on a smaller boat, but didn't seem like anybody was on top of each other. So good work there. GOMCG, Fishermen in New Jersey should have a much stronger voice than we currently do. Bye-bye, America. I would totally agree. I went to a lot of the meetings. I try to go to all the fishery meetings in my local area. Definitely, I'd have to agree. The fishermen in New Jersey need to speak up, need to join together, need to band together, need to join clubs, need to join multiple clubs. And there needs to be, we'll call it an alliance, an association, where everybody's on the same page fighting for the common good of all and not arguing this club versus that club. That's probably another topic for another Instagram Live. Love to talk about that. Love to talk about my feelings with the fishery. My feelings of that I harvest some fish here and there, but I mainly practice catch and release. I just feel it's the right thing to do. Yes, I love eating fish, but I also try to be as conservative as possible. So Max says elaborate, and I'm not sure how deep this is going to get here as I'm reading. Obviously, Maristelle is my mistake before. These guys are talking about the lunch spot. So shout out to those guys, local business. Maristelle's in Ship Bottom. It's right up the street from the shop, right at the traffic light on 9th Street, on the boulevard. Maristelle's, family-owned, great deli. You guys are looking for an awesome lunch special, give them a call. Maristelle's is somewhat of a new spot. It's in the same location where Lex-Mex used to be, right in Ship Bottom, right at the street from the shop, very close to the beach. You could literally pull up, call in an order. While you're waiting for it to be cooked, stroll up to the beach, check out the water. Yes, it's closed. You can still get a peek and say, hey, there's the salt there, there's the salt water. That's what's called the Atlantic Ocean. And by the time you check it out, your sandwich, your lunch will probably be done. They've got awesome tater tots. Definitely a major plus in terms of eateries in Ship Bottom. Another would be Russo's. Just had an awesome pizza pie from there this evening. Shout out to Vince. He's a fisherman. He runs Russo's, great restaurant, family-owned, operated. Definitely like to give my local businesses a shout out. Thank you so much for being there, both you guys, Russo's and Maristelle's, for being open all winter. It's very special to me, being a long-time local year-round resident, to see these businesses supporting year-round operation on the island and not just being a summertime fad that come and go with kind of this summertime sun. So that's why I like to support those businesses. Personally, I do not, as much as possible, support any businesses that are seasonal. I feel they leave the kind of wintertime crew high and dry and just kind of run and gun with their money in the summer. My 2 cents, sorry if I offend you, but if you're going to be on LBI and be a small business, you got to go year round. If you can't make it work, figure something out. So basically, got a minute and a half left here. Just got a warning that it's got to get off of here. Getting a little parched. Thanks for joining us, guys. I really can't go through all these things right now. Just kind of running out of time. So basically, just want to say thank you. Once again, it's Greg Cudnick here, captain of Fish Head Charters at Fisherman's Headquarters. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Love to help you guys out either today, tomorrow, next month, next year, whatever it may be. Whether you've got fishing questions, you have fishing tackle inquiries, maybe you have fishing tackle problems, you need service, repair, you have line issues, you have tackle issues, you have problems not catching fish, and you want to figure out where your weak link is. You got to figure out, what you're doing wrong. Reach out to us. Feel free to share your good times and your bad times. We're here to listen. We're here to help. We'll be your counselor through it all. We want to help all of our customers catch fish. We've been around since 1962, and we're here for a reason. We want to support you guys, and hopefully you guys will support us too. So once again, Greg here at Fisherman's Headquarters, signing out. Hope to see you guys soon. Peace.